afternoon and welcome to our second day of La Jornada Nacional 2023. My name is Ale Alfaro and it's a pleasure to be accompanying you throughout this important event. Organized by PONI, the Mexican National Program of English, with the support of the British Council. If you weren't able to join the sessions yesterday, we encourage you to take the time to watch them. Remember, all the sessions delivered during these 3 days will be available on demand using the same link. A quick reminder about our house rules. You are welcome to post your comments and questions in the chat, making sure that you maintain a respectful and positive communication. Remember, we have 10-minute break between each session, so go ahead, grab some coffee, come back, freshen up a little bit. Also, remember that at the end of the day, we will post the link and the QR code to a short quiz for you to answer and register your participation. Please make sure that your name, surname, and email address are correctly spelled. Otherwise, you might not get your certificate. Also, bear in mind that the attendance certificates will be delivered throughout the month of December. So, without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker of today, Miss Emma Ford. From the British Council, she is part of the academic leadership team at the British Council Mexico and teaches adults and young learners. She has been an educator and trainer for over 15 years and is a firm believer in motivating learners and giving them evidence of their abilities and processes throughout the use of project work. Welcome, Ms. Ford.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here with you. I'm looking forward to talking to you about the power of project-based English language learning and why and how it can be so important for people to have evidence. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I'm not aware that anybody's blocked comments, no? I can see you all appearing at the side of the screen. Okay then, so let's get started. We're going to talk about some approaches, strategies, resources, and possible designs for our project-based English language learning. One of the key things that we find is the need to try and put our learners, our students, at the center of all of our learning experiences. So what we always want to have happen is clarity for the learners and for them to be using the language in a meaningful way for them. Obviously, quite often we have a syllabus, we have materials that we need to use that come from the school that we're in. And quite often a basic quick lesson planning approach is to do the PPP, presentation, practice, production. It works, it's reliable, we like it. We can base a number of different classroom activities around it so that people can be very careful and make sure that the particular group has scaffolding to support them in being able to achieve a goal. And this can be much more structured and broken into smaller sections. However, is it really meeting what our learners need to be able to start to use language in a meaningful way? If everything just comes from the course book that's been selected for us to use, if everything just comes from the syllabus that we are applying, is it meeting what our learners really need? Thank you for your comments. A few people are saying that the presentation is not visible. Other people say they can see it well. So I'm not really sure how to assist you with that. I'm just going to continue, and hopefully if anybody has got a connection that's not as clear as it could be, it will clear up as we're going. So what is project-based learning? No doubt a lot of the people here are using it already or some form of it. We're really taking learner-centeredness to a higher level with it. It takes the best of task-based learning, where we're using our language to complete a specific task that makes it more realistic for people. But whereas a task is just a single thing and the focus of one lesson, by having a project, we can really move things forwards further. We can use this as a center core, and it could last a longer time. We can use it over the course of an entire term. It could form a framework that gets repeated over the course of an entire year. Obviously, we all teach in different contexts, and we all approach project work in different ways. Some people really do take it as this is what we're going to do over a year. And obviously the beginning parts of the project will be a big contrast from the things that people can produce at the end of the year. Sometimes we need to dedicate a specific amount of time a week to it. And some projects only get used on short courses or intensive programs. Some people actually work together with other people in order to try and make the entire curriculum work around the different project areas. What we're looking for always is to try and give our young learners realistic objectives that need realistic language. So we want them to do a particular thing and engage with that thing that we want them to create and move forwards. And from them needing to do that, that gives us the language that we're going to work on to achieve those things. It's the instrument, it's the tool, rather than us providing people with grammar and trying to find a context to meet it and vocabulary items that they may not need to recycle anytime soon. What we try and do here is have a project that's sufficiently engaging for our learners to want to do things with it. It gives us lots of opportunities for communication because we can talk about what is going to be done. We can talk about how we're going to do it. We can modify and customize and personalize things to them. Obviously, what we might see is a mix of approaches. So we might have some task-based learning that feeds into a larger project. We might have 100% project-based learning. We might have some PPP type activities supporting what we're doing with any grammar or vocabulary problems. But the idea is to get people to engage. The thing we find in all of our project-based learning is that we choose a central topic from which all the different activities come. And we drive the project towards our final objective. So we can have lots of different stages leading to a main outcome. We give people access to means of investigation. Now that a lot of people are connected, this is often done via access to things on the internet, and people collect and analyze and put together information. So it can involve our young learners in critical thinking, these 21st century skills that are so important in preparing them for the world that is to come. We also give lots of opportunities for people to share their ideas, for people to collaborate. They can bring individual ideas. They can work together in pairs, small groups, larger groups across the entire class. And their interaction with the other learners is one of the fundamentals in successful project-based learning. The final product itself is often created using technology or whatever we have available to us, but often we may make posters, presentations, do reports. Nowadays, we can even record videos, create mini web pages, do blogs. We try to find a way of getting the children to engage with the materials in a way that gives us an end product that can be shared. Because this idea of acknowledging work, showing work to other people, getting feedback helps us and helps our learners be more engaged and committed to what we're doing. Thank you very much for all the comments so far. People saying hello and sharing their ideas. Don't forget you can monitor the chat and you will hear feedback from our British Council Mexico commentator also. What are our roles? So our learners are very free. They can solve problems and share information in the way that they see fit. So this is very good for differentiated learning. We might have people who are very comfortable doing a presentation. We might have another person that wants to work very hard on a piece of text that they can correct and produce in a different way. So we can fit what stages our project has to what works best for our learners, allowing them to make decisions. And this autonomy makes them engage more with the different projects that we can set up for them. Our role as the teacher is slightly different. We facilitate the project's working. We help set up the frameworks for them to communicate. We help the children have access to appropriate information. And we're also there to act as a guide around language. But what we're doing is making sure that our students have lots of opportunities to produce a final product or presentation as their project. We monitor, but we don't interrupt. We make sure that things are moving towards the end goal. We deal with language problems at another point. Why do we want to use projects? Well, we want to motivate our young learners. We want to make our classroom something that is like real life, so that instead of learning about how plants grow and the language that goes with that, we might actually bring some seeds and some soil into our classroom and grow a plant and monitor it and talk about it in English and get to the language, vocabulary, structures that we need to do that from the facts coming to life in front of us. If John Dewey, the American educational theorist, was correct, then we're not preparing the children for life. We're educating about life itself. Education is life. So by giving them lots of fun elements, chances to work together individually, to communicate about real situations, how will we grow a bean? What will we need? We can have a project that takes us from the planning stages to how many people are there, how many bean seeds will we need, where will they come from, what will we grow them into, right through to a planting session where people might want to record what they're investigating, who they worked with, how things worked, how long it took things to grow. This means that they can analyze their decisions, make decisions, reject ideas, organize and delegate. So there's a lot of multidisciplinary skills that we can bring in and check. We can incorporate some things where elements of our project go home, bringing the family into what is happening, involving everybody in this learning and recycling of language. So we're asking with our projects for a higher level of thinking than just repeating vocabulary and learning some structures. One moment. Lots of people signing in, that's great. I think we might have a special guest with us today. So we're inviting our learners when working on projects to collaborate in a whole new way, to think about how they can be part of this project, what they bring to it and what it can do for them. So how can projects help us? Well, it's great for us because it motivates our learners to get involved, because they can have some autonomy about how they're going to work, what they're going to do, what their outcomes are. It practices all of our 4 skills together. So they're going to need to read things and write things and listen to each other and listen to external elements and talk together about how the project will be managed and probably in the future at some point present their work to us. So it's very autonomous. They become responsible for what they're going to learn about. Brilliant, yes. It can very much help us, as some people are saying in the chat, to identify if learners are missing something, because we can see what they're finding for themselves. They get a solid outcome. They're going to do something at the end. It's not filling in gaps, answering a short quiz. They actually are creating this end product that needs to do a particular thing. And they're developing their interpersonal relationships from working as a group. Maybe they'll work in pairs, do some things independently, do some things in a bigger group. And then, of course, one key element is always the feedback that you provide to your peers about what is happening. We can vary our content and our methodology. They can be decided between learners and the teacher who reach an agreement together. And that's what helps us be very learner-centered. And we can bring in our parents by sending elements of what we're doing home so that people can help. A break from routine. Perhaps a lot of things that we're doing are based around solid course books, and this can be different to keep people's interaction fresh. And this context balances our need for fluency and accuracy. So we want ideas, we're collecting ideas, we acknowledge what's great and move forwards from there. And at a separate point, we can go back and look at the actual language that we need and help move that forwards. So we can have different versions of things and drafts and really help the children be able to express their own ideas beyond what we have in our book. Lots of people feel quite concerned about project-based learning in terms of what the level of their learners is. If it's low, people get worried that their learners won't have the vocabulary or the language they need to do the project, and that could cause frustration. But we can support and scaffold projects in different ways. So we can give examples, simple examples, with language that learners already know or building from language that we already know. We can show them models that they can base their production around. Depending on the level of the learners, this could be sentence openers. This can be chunks of language for them to recycle. And we can choose a project that's going to fit what their abilities are or make them stretch slightly. Assessing projects is another area that causes concern, but this is a great opportunity again for us to involve our learners. We can create an agreed rubric with the class that's appropriate to their level and their abilities, and that will acknowledge the things that they want to do. Yep, you can adapt it to fit your curriculum. It's nice to see people making comments. There is a link enclosed here that will help you see how one particular teacher achieved their own rubric. Another area of concern is often that the learners might start talking in their first language. Generally, this is quite common in YL classes. People can talk together. What we end up with is a product that comes out in English. So personally, I'm less concerned if there is a bit of conversation. Perhaps they can help each other towards the language that they need. Perhaps that can guide us to a section that we can incorporate in a different element of our lessons to deal with the language that they're going to need for that. There can be a perception sometimes that some learners are doing nothing because we've given people more freedom to decide on their particular roles. However, when we're planning out our project initially, we can allocate specific roles to people. We decide this as we make the proposal, and that means that we don't end up with one person doing more work than the others. We can also review this and rotate roles to give people a chance to take different positions. Groups often work at different speeds. We've all experienced this. And that means that we can kind of work out a schedule to ensure that people stay together. We can have some extra elements, perhaps if we have fast finishing groups with higher ability. We can have more support for other groups to ensure that we keep them more or less ready. We can involve everybody in planning to see how things could be extended. Yes, Julio Alberto, I don't think that's uncommon that people don't want to do it. Don't always want to use the language, but we need to give them this opportunity. And by the end product being something that really requires English, that can be very helpful. Just give me one moment.
Except for the things that we don't have and the things that I can't eat.
It's a really good fit for our teen learners. Common projects for this age group tend to be class magazines, wall displays. We can have people investigating different things, so countries, different cities, involving designs for things, music festivals, video gaming conferences, things that will capture their imagination and bring them into what they're doing, while we are the support and they can direct what's going to happen. It doesn't mean it's a free-for-all and people just do whatever they would like. But what we do is we structure it. We make agreements with our learners. We have a plan, we have a schedule, and we try and make sure that we're addressing things that will help them put their language into good use, but keep their interest and really motivate them to go and find out in English how they can express these ideas, or even just to ask questions to us so that they can get language that they need because they're interested in conveying a particular idea. Obviously, we need to set our projects up. And at the beginning, if our learners are new to project working, then what we need to do is give them ideas about what they can be doing. So having some examples, maybe showing them different examples that other people have done in your institution, or that we have found from different sources online, can be really helpful. We might want to create kind of mood boards with our learners in order to show them different possibilities and different ideas for things that they can be involved with. We can involve them by making them think about things, making their own suggestions, having them critique things. Once we've explained the idea behind having a project, we can get our learners to work with us on what the scheme of work for the project will be. This can involve the different elements that are going to be included, who's going to be responsible for what our final product is actually going to be. We need to create a timeline. We need to consider materials that we might need. As part of this, we will be much more prominent as teachers because we need to sit down. We need to look at how big our groups can be to make things work. We need to assist our learners in being able to give us a proposal. We need to propose things back. And then we need to agree. And at this stage as well, we can start to think about what would be the best for our evaluation procedures. I agree, it can be a big problem that you could just find people that are happy to copy exactly what somebody else is doing. So it's good if you can have 3 or 4 different ideas in mind and show examples that don't go exactly with that idea, so they would at least have to modify. One thing that we always need to consider is how long will people actually need for the project? From our classroom time, how can we make sure that we have enough time for this project and to achieve the other things, and that it's not going to involve some people in doing lots of things outside of the classroom that maybe they cannot do, and that we know exactly how we can apply the things to what they're producing, so that students know exactly when they might need to bring any materials that they've sourced from outside. We need to show people a space that they could have for the final project. How are we actually going to display and share it to everybody else so they can get this vital step of acknowledgement of their work, feedback on what they've done, and a chance to display and enjoy the work from their particular group? For our materials and resources, this will vary depending exactly on what we're going to produce and where we are, exactly what resources we have available to ourselves. So in some instances, people use a lot of technology. In other instances, people will bring in materials that they have cut out of magazines, things that they have drawn for themselves, different elements that they source from around their homes and in their local areas. However, we don't want anything that is online to just become unguided opportunities to be hitting the internet. It can be very useful to have review sessions as the projects unfold to make sure that everybody really is sticking to the timelines and that they were realistic, and see what we need to adjust and change. So just like any project planning, we need to see, have we hit our milestones? When they're super, super young learners, Lucia, thank you very much. It's a good question. We can provide stronger models. We can give them shorter elements to include and see what is going on in the first things that we do to adjust it and see, can we have extra pages? Can we add extra elements? Was it reasonable to go into the detail that we wanted to get to? Presentation. By this, I don't mean that we are going to present to them. They're going to present to us. Yes, I see some questions about the long time period. It is useful that we have this longer period of time. It means that we can redo some elements, or it means that we can extend some of the things that we are doing. If we can identify a problem in production where we're going to need to give some extra support for language, then we can put those sessions in separately. And obviously we do need some strong evaluation. So if we think about getting people to read more, how can we achieve this? Well, if we try and get our readers, our students to have a reader during a course, they don't always feel great about wanting to read it. So what we can do is try and find a variety of different readers for them to choose from. And in this case, the learners had a slightly higher level. And we encouraged their motivation to read by choosing different readers that had also been made into movies. All groups had a copy of the reader, and then they could decide what they would do based around this particular reader, as long as it connected back to the reader and involved them in needing to read and encouraging other people to read. And the types of things that this teenage group produced were summaries. They made word searches with interesting vocab to get people used to spelling the elements. There was some discussion about what would make a good review and reviews of the books. People found more historical information about places that were mentioned, about characters that were mentioned. People decided that they would act out scenes from the books and video them. People rewrote endings to the book. And sometimes people decided to actually focus on how successful they felt movie adaptations had been, and looked at different people who had been in the movies and found out information about them. So it was very diverse, but it allowed people to adapt things to what their interest really was. And that helped them produce more language by getting the buy-in. We can also have music projects. Lots of our young learners are very into different types of movies, and it lends itself to a very wide, extensive possibility, because they could do everything from choosing a band name and deciding if they actually have people in the classroom that could create a musical group. They could design CD covers or single covers for how things will work. They can decide on who their persona in a band would be and create the perfect video of an interview with the band about their music, about what they're doing. Quite often this works very well if people record a song. So you can take a song that's very popular with a number of people, put people into groups and rewrite the lyrics, making them more relevant to you and your life, changing things around, maybe using something that's normally, oh, great, you're going to use it for a Christmas carol. Sounds brilliant. You can write a gig review. So think about concerts that people have been to. Lots of people are going to see the Taylor Swift concert in the cinema. So we can bring these elements that are very fresh to our learners' lives into our classrooms to get them to do things. I agree. There's a few people saying that for the reader one, it can be very difficult to get people that don't read into things. And some people are mentioning kindergarten age children. So for the kindergarten age children, we can still show them picture books with very limited words and get them to think about different stories and contexts around. And that can still be quite helpful. And we can use like short songs and chants that they will sing backwards and get them to add little pieces. So it can be useful at all ages to try and incorporate these elements of getting people thinking about reading and getting people really into things. But the musical project can work very well in a lot of different ways. They can present the song in the group. They can present it to the entire school. This will give them the feedback and validation that we're looking for. It can be really, really helpful. We can have a photo shoot of the band and somebody has to organize and arrange it. So this can be like a different thing where how many people will we need? Who will provide a camera? How would this work? Can take it through to designing a poster, advertising, imaginary groups. Yeah, the music project adapted for seasons of the year. Once we get started on this, we can get buy-in from different places and people. And that can be really, really useful for helping us see how it can grow. So this is why getting our learners involved with us and getting the rest of our team involved with us to see this is what we would like to do. What ideas do you have? How can we make these work best in our school with the resources that we've got and for our learners with the level of language that they've got? That really helps pull everybody in. I agree. I think the music project is something that does work very well with a lot of different age groups. We can even do it very clearly with super young age groups without a lot of language. We do still have very short songs and we can use them for different routines. A lot of people with their very young learners where we don't have so much of a writing ability, we can just get them doing kind of single word things and changing things. We can change words to songs that they already know quite well to make them fit. Yep, perfect. A couple of people are mentioning the different books that they're using where they are and how this could adapt to their learners to be relaxing and interesting. It's so great to see so many people are really incorporating music in the classroom wherever they can. That's fantastic. What else? Has anybody tried a different type of project anywhere that they'd like to share with us in the chat? Lots of people are relating things back to music. I always mention reading because I do think reading is an important thing for helping expose people to more language. I know it can be very difficult when people aren't interested so much in some of the reading, but finding the appropriate kind of text to read with people can really make a big difference. Oh, I like the time capsule idea. And Teresa de Pilar is telling us about Halloween project and Day of the Dead. talking about the different traditions, making people share things backwards. Very nice. Hiram talking about jigsaw reading and getting your first graders to sing a good morning song. And we can bring those things out further. Yeah, you can invent a song. Perfect. Can be very helpful. Recently, I had a material that was a song, and the 9-year-olds that I work with did not enjoy the song. So this became our challenge, is to see what could we do to make this song better. They liked the topics for our song because we were hearing from people from different countries and learning about animals and things that they were seeing. And that can be great. Tongue twister presentations. Other people are talking about theatre, getting people into doing role plays and acting things out. So we could have different scenarios that help us work with particular language that maybe we need to practice. Recording a TikTok, yeah, very current, quite easy to do. Most people have the ability to do that. Dialogues about buying things and paying for things helps us practice a lot. Christmas music projects, a lot of people are mentioning that this could be very good. A fast food restaurant project where students have to practice things that they would definitely do in their real life. Looking at food recipes, yeah, making something basic in class can be brilliant. It needs to be simple so that it will be things that everybody could bring in or have access to, or something that we can provide ourselves at a very low cost, so it can include absolutely everybody. But I think that's something that can be really, really helpful. You know, we made fake sushi and we just used bread. So we bought the cheapest bread that we could find, and we made sure nobody was allergic to anything. And we discussed what our ingredients list would be. And between the class, we sourced the products that we would need. And we had some rolling pins. And we had some plastic knives and a chopping board. And we had just really simple bread that we turned into a big, giant, long strip. And then we made our own different flavored sushi out of bread. And we talked about what real ingredients would be, and we sang songs about food and different greetings from around the world, and we looked at how we would present different things. Yes, comics. Comics can be excellent. Lots of people are mentioning Christmas Carol projects, and they can work really well. But I do think comic books can be very good because lots of our students are reading those kind of things. A birthday project, yeah. A national and an international restaurant. Great, we can compare different types of food. Oh, have a cinema with a small store and show things. Going to a different country, but make it in the classroom. Television presentations based on TV programs can be very great too. The comic thing can work really well because it helps people understand about how to structure stories. A lap book about American culture. Yep, anything where we open it. Very simple pop-up books, because we can use how you would construct it so that the images actually and text actually stand up to practice our instruction giving and instruction following, and then have the different elements pop up in different ways so we have this solid product that we're pleased with. A pen pal competition, comparing cultures, yep. Planning parties, interviewing a famous artist. Great. Yep, that one could work very nicely. Getting dressed using different nationalities' clothes. Yeah, very hand-on. Making some movie trailers. A talent show. Planning a trip to Disneyland. There's some amazing ideas here, and we've only been here for a few moments. Having a drawing project. This can also be very useful. Lots of people don't feel as comfortable writing a lot of text. So giving an opportunity for physical performance, some drawing, some writing, some presentation, listening to other people's ideas and giving feedback allows everybody to participate. A news program with different sections. Yeah. Oh, making an experiment can be very useful. Recording anecdotes and comparing them. The voice, you mean the singing competition? Yeah, doing some cooking. A Shark Tank project, yes, particularly for the older children who've got a bit more language and maybe some ideas, presenting different products. I did Shark Tank with a group who presented their favorite recent product. So we all agreed on the parameters for it, where the product can't be too expensive. It had to be something that people would regularly use in the home. So people presented lots of different things, and the winner overall was Scrub Daddy, this special sponge for cleaning the pots, for doing the dishes with. Yes, some young learner ideas here, talking about making an ABC book and looking at different things going into space, radio programs, looking at the science fair. Yeah, things that they're doing already in different parts of the school in different languages. They could maybe report back on the science fair that the rest of the school is doing. Creating board games, creating short stories around key ideas, taking care of the environment. Oh, a puppet talent show for shy students. Brilliant. Our bolder students could be the compares, and the others can still join in because they don't feel at risk. Looking at inventors and inventions from male and female inventors, talking about unexpected events, traffic light stories. There's some brilliant ideas here. Going to the zoo in your classroom for younger learners. Brilliant. And this is the great thing about our projects, is we can try these things and we can have things where if it works well, we can expand it. So instead of just going to the zoo, maybe we go to a different country and see those animals where they live. So once it's working once, could be great. Organizing a karaoke session. Yeah, this could be great fun. Get people to suggest the different songs. Put them into like the wheel of names that you can find on the internet, and people get the songs that we've agreed and they have to do a particular part of it. Creating our catalogue of music. Yeah, some people have museum trips in their school, and then afterwards maybe we could incorporate that back into them presenting back on what they've seen, looking at cultures from different places, traditional songs about, yeah. Oh, croquis with different elements in the school. Oh, the Grammys. So we could be hosting things, accepting awards, talking about different things, making comics of their favorite people, taking us through their life stories. So it can be so versatile. Thank you so much. We're getting brilliant ideas here. Looking at the weather. We could be examining the weather as it is now, the weather in the past, what might be coming, looking at the impacts of global art. Yes, we can do lots of things with our role plays to help people and support them so they don't feel as exposed, because part of the things can be scripted for them. We could turn something into a musical. We could use an existing musical. You can look at how your school recycles. Brilliant. There's some fantastic ideas here that your students would get enthusiastic about. Oh, horror stories told by the students. Fits very well with the time of year. We could look at the history of horror stories, some very famous ones that have been translated into different languages, things that people find believable or unbelievable. Taking care of water has come up as an idea quite a while. Having a music shop. Looking at the Day of the Dead in English, explaining the significance and the history. Brilliant. Anything where you're putting things into practice in the school is a joy, because we're giving our learners the reason. Oh, a fashion show. The planning around an entire fashion show and ending with the event could be fantastic if people are interested in that. And you could have anti-fashion as well. If people were just kind of like, well, I don't want to wear that, people could wear their regular clothes. Look at the attitude for the whole thing. Finding treasure, examining your legends. Finding that topic is brilliant. Oh, lovely. A favorite food. Thank you very much, Kimera. Thinking about a favorite food and doing all of the things that relate to that. Flashcards and the music of the Beatles. Something that's quite universal. Maybe families can get involved with people as well. Looking at things behind the scenes. Yes, music projects often give a chance to practice pronunciation as well. Creating a reading club can be very good, yeah. The Museum of Experiments. Reviewing concerts. Yeah, the music thing is really versatile, I agree. But taking what we've got and looking at things can be very, very useful. There are a lot of great books out there that give us even more ideas about our projects for the classroom. So Haynes has a very nice project for an EFL classroom, projects with young learners from Phillips, Burwood and Dunford, project work from Fried Booth, an imaginative project by Wicks can all help us. But we didn't need any of these books. Everybody here came up with a brilliant idea for us from stuff that they have tried, from things that they would like to try. Halloween costumes, competition. So we can turn that into a project by thinking about, right, what day are we going to have the competition? How will we plan out our competition? What kind of elements does your costume need to win? What will the prizes be? How will we judge? Will we have different age range categories? So very quickly from a simple element, we can move things forward. Jose is suggesting a mobile library, coming up with new songs from Raquel and trying to perform in the style of different singers, perhaps. Yeah, there's some amazing ideas here that we can easily expand past one single thing into a broader thing. Yes, Alma says about a spelling bee. It's something that's quite common. But instead of us delivering the spelling bee to the students, what if we ask them, how should it work? What would you like to do? How can we make this better? And they planned dates and they planned the word lists and where they would come from and what people had to do, so that the whole thing turned into a broader element in English. Just trying to see what brilliant ideas I could have missed. Yes, Sara Diaz is talking about programming experiments in teams, in pairs, recipes, helping the environment, doing bits of a play or a whole play. Excellent. A movie day at school. Yeah, you can involve everybody in collecting and giving their reviews of what movie it should be, and then selecting the movie and getting people to watch it, and then having people's comments afterwards, videos and letters, an interviewing project, the red carpet, debating about favorite things. Setting up a debate could be great because the debate's the final product and we get ready. We prepare our different teams, we find out about debates, we watch some other people doing debates, we select our topics and describe and what we're going to do to make our arguments. Oh, excellent. Thank you, Miss Pink. I think your students making videos is really very valid. And being able to show what we're doing, this idea of we end up with a thing, so we have evidence, so people can see what they did and they can feel, that was me. I got ready for this and I did it. And if it's something that you kind of repeat, maybe you don't have it going for the entire year, but at some point you can repeat it again. They can see, aha, I know what I learned from last time and how to incorporate that next time. Oh, I think so. Corina Mirna is mentioning how to take care of a pet. This can be a great project. People have different pets already. People might want a different style of pet. So we could do everything from observation of our own pets and what we have to do and what the commitments are around having those kind of pets, to maybe trying to choose an exotic pet that we might like in the future and looking at the differences. And this will give us lots of different language. We can do lots of great drawings and find lots of good information. So it's taking your first idea and then seeing what sections could it have? What do I think my group of learners, the children in my class, will bring to this? How can I cross over with other things that are happening? How can we really roll this out further? Oh, looking at people's emotions in different situations, Yaneth. Yep, that can be extremely valid. For this time of year, Chris Alvarez says, why don't we make a haunted house? Again, you can do all of the prep for it, but in English, providing them with different language and the planning for how it's going to work and what rooms will you have and how do you make sure it's appropriately scary for the age groups. So you've got some brilliant opportunities. Thank you so much, everybody. There's some really great things here that really got us going. Make sure, everybody, try and review the chat on this. There's some brilliant, brilliant ideas. But the main thing is that we're giving our learners a chance to be part of what we're doing. We're not delivering it to them. We're collecting our ideas and seeing how we think it can go, and then inviting them to share our ideas and putting together our plan together and looking at the stages and what roles we need to achieve it, and then what language we need to achieve it and how we support you with that, coming to this beautiful end product that they can share with everybody and feel really proud of. Well, thank you very much for your time today. I know the beginning was a little bit heavy on some theory, but sometimes we need to start from the theory point to get to this beautiful part so that we don't forget these different stages for bringing our learners into the world and having them be at the heart of the project by them setting the stages and us being there as a guide. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Emma, for this very interesting and full of material session that you have just given us. We are delighted to have you. Again, thank you.
Thank you, guys. It was brilliant to be here with you. I hope the rest of the sessions get as much input as you've given me, because I've got even more things to think about now myself. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
All right, well, special thanks to everyone who is here watching and commenting. Thank you so much. There is a lot of feedback and ideas that you have given us and everyone. So remember, we are going to have a short break and come back at 4:10 for our next session. Thank you and see you back here. voy a entrar. Bienvenidos de nuevo. Nuestra siguiente sesión es en español. Permítanme presentarles a nuestra siguiente ponente, Maricruz Aguilera, quien es formadora de profesores de inglés en la licenciatura en la enseñanza y aprendizaje del inglés en educación secundaria y docente de posgrado en la Escuela Normal Superior de México. Desarrolla líneas de investigación en prácticas y saberes para la formación docente. También es miembro del cuerpo académico consolidado Construcciones Simbólicas y Prácticas Educativas en la Formación de Docentes para la Escuela Secundaria. Es licenciada en Traducción por el Instituto Superior de Intérpretes y Traductores y maestra en Desarrollo Educativo por la Universidad Pedagógica Nacional. Doctora en Educación por la Universidad Pedagógica Nacional con perfil PRODEP desde 2009. Diseñadora del Plan y Programa de Estudios 2018 de la Licenciatura en Enseñanza y el Aprendizaje del Inglés en Educación Secundaria. Bienvenida, doctora Maricruz.
Hola, muy buenas tardes a todos. Es un gusto estar aquí y pues quiero agradecer al PRONI y a las autoridades que me han hecho esta invitación para estar con todos ustedes. Creo que más que los grados o los títulos, he sido profesora durante más de 35 años y esto me hace ser de alguna manera empática y tal vez compartir muchas de las experiencias que seguramente todos ustedes han vivido. Voy a dar inicio compartiendo mi presentación y mientras pues sigo charlando con ustedes. Bien, pues voy a empezar comentando que el propósito de esta charla, de esta presentación, es básicamente generar una reflexión en todos nosotros, profesores, que enseñamos inglés y que de alguna manera estamos preocupados por los contenidos y estamos siempre muy también preocupados por nuestra planificación y por los materiales que queremos emplear y que sean de alguna manera ad hoc o estén ajustados a los contenidos, a las necesidades, a los contextos de nuestros estudiantes y de nuestras escuelas. De aquí que la propuesta para este día y para esta charla tiene que ver con este cruce que se hace entre el inglés y las disciplinas o bien los contenidos transversales. Pues esa es la propuesta para hoy y va a tener un tinte de reflexión. Quiero comenzar haciendo esta pregunta a todos ustedes sobre en qué momento se dieron cuenta de que la enseñanza y el aprendizaje de inglés puede llevarse a cabo de manera transversal, de manera interdisciplinaria, cuando están llevando a cabo o desarrollando los contenidos de su currículo o del currículo. ¿En qué momento ustedes se dieron cuenta de que había esta transversalidad, que había este cruce de contenidos, de temas, ¿no? Voy a ver si alguien quiere contestar, pero bueno, mientras ustedes contestan o mientras van reflexionando respecto a esta toma de conciencia, quiero compartir con ustedes la siguiente diapositiva, en donde precisamente quiero clarificar, bueno, ¿qué entendemos por currículo? Digo, la sesión o la charla no es muy conceptual, sin embargo, quiero comentar que hay 3 miradas con relación al currículo, uno de Jimeno Sacristán y Pérez Gómez, en donde, pues, para ellos el currículo tiene que ver con ese ejercicio de planificación en donde se organizan pues los procesos de enseñanza, de aprendizaje, lo que se va a llevar a cabo dentro del aula y cómo se va a vincular pues con otros contenidos escolares, con otras actividades escolares, y básicamente para estos dos autores tendría que ver el currículo con aquello que está relacionado con el contenido y su planificación. Para Tyler, esto del currículo tiene más que ver con aquellas cosas que suceden detrás de la planificación, que están en el trasfondo del proceso de enseñanza-aprendizaje y que realmente va a ser como el resultado, ¿no?, de esa planificación, o el resultado de esa realización o de la ejecución de los planes. Y por último tenemos a Stenhouse, que nos dice que en realidad para él el currículo es ambas cosas. Es esta realidad interactiva en donde se ve la intención y la realidad. Es decir, la pregunta inicial es: ¿en qué momento ustedes se dieron cuenta de que en su currículo, al llevar a cabo esta intención y esta realidad, hubo un cruce de contenidos transversales o interdisciplinarios? Me voy a la siguiente diapositiva, pero voy a regresar a mi primer pregunta, también para clarificar a qué me refiero cuando hablo de un contenido transversal. Básicamente, cuando hablamos de esta idea de contenido transversal, es este cruce que hacemos dentro de nuestra aula cuando estamos desarrollando actividades en inglés, en donde hablamos, ¿no? Hablamos sobre cuestiones que tienen que ver con valores, con educación ambiental, con alguna cuestión socioemocional, y entonces de esa manera, desde el idioma, desde inglés, estamos atendiendo algunos temas de corte transversal. También, como nos dice Hughes o González Luchini, también podemos ver cómo en los contenidos transversales hay esta unión o esta incorporación de un conocimiento científico con algo que le llamaría él un conocimiento vulgar, y entonces se vuelve o adquiere tintes más significativos para el estudiante. Y bueno, la lectura transversal, que también para algunos autores podría ser la intertextualidad, tiene que ver con esta cuestión de cómo vemos, ¿no?, culturalmente, cómo reconocemos dentro de nuestras clases de inglés algunos aspectos que tienen que ver con ya sea referentes exofóricos, con cuestiones culturales, socioculturales o bien de orden interlingüístico. Entonces, aquí me encanta Verónica, dice: yo siempre le digo a mis estudiantes que el inglés no es una materia, sino que es una lengua, que es un medio de comunicación, y efectivamente, realmente el inglés estaría funcionando como este vehículo de comunicación y no tanto como la asignatura, ¿no?, que muchos estudiantes ven. Y bueno, dice: desde mis inicios en la SEP, dice Sergio Rangel, le llamaban transversalidad, ahora le llaman ejes articuladores. Efectivamente, más adelante vamos a hablar sobre ello, pero estoy de acuerdo contigo en que el inglés de alguna manera se vuelve un contenido transversal. Bueno, algunos lo podemos ver así, y creo que está a la base o está en el centro, digamos, esta idea de lo transversal e incluso de lo interdisciplinario. Yo quiero compartirles, voy a seguir leyendo en un minuto, pero quiero compartirles una experiencia de cómo en lo personal yo me di cuenta de que el inglés era mucho más que un lenguaje, era mucho más que un conjunto de palabras o bien un listado digamos, de aspectos gramaticales o de aspectos fonéticos, fonológicos, ¿no? Quiero compartirles esta experiencia y tal vez esto detone un poco más sus respuestas. No sé si ustedes han escuchado esta canción de Scorpions en 1990, es un grupo de rock alemán y que tiene esta The Wind of Change o Winds of Change, se llama el título, y recuerdo que hace ya varios años me pidió mi grupo, un grupo de adultos, me pidió que les ayudara a entender la letra de esta canción. Como pueden ver, fue realmente desde que capturé, digamos, o desde que encontré la letra y empecé a tratar de entender el significado de la primera estanza o del primer verso, me encontré con cuestiones que iban más allá del inglés. No era vocabulario lo que estaba faltando ahí, sino me estaba faltando, digamos, una lectura más de la historia, una lectura geográfica, ¿no? Porque dice, I followed the Moscow down to Gorky Park, ¿no? Y entonces, para empezar, ¿qué era eso de Moscú y qué era eso de Gorky Park? Y después dice, listening to the wind of change. Y después habla de una noche de agosto, habla de soldados y habla precisamente de estos vientos de cambio. Bueno, pues en aquel entonces, les estoy hablando de varios años atrás, pues no existía Google, no existía un clic para poder acceder a la información que pues ahora con un clic podemos tener, pero tuve que investigar, tuve que ir a la biblioteca, tuve que preguntarle a algunos colegas para poder entender que en esta canción estaban hablando en realidad de la caída del muro de Berlín y que estos cantantes alemanes, bueno, hablaban precisamente de este proceso de esperanza al verse reunidos con aquellos amigos y con aquellos familiares que quedaron separados por estas dos Alemanias. Entonces, como pueden ver ahí en la diapositiva, pues hay elementos que tienen que ver con cuestiones históricas, que tienen que ver con cuestiones geográficas, que tienen que ver con incluso hasta cuestiones de corte ambiental, ¿no? Entonces, y de un ambiente digamos, de esperanza, de un ambiente de felicidad, precisamente por esta idea de cambio. Entonces, esta fue, para mí, para Maricruz, fue la primera vez en que me di cuenta que una clase de inglés no solamente es, como yo les señalaba, un elemento, ¿no? de lingüística o una cuestión de gramática, ¿no? Tenía que ver más allá y bueno, este fue mi primer encuentro o mi primer momento en donde tomo conciencia de la cuestión interdisciplinaria y transversal que puede tener tan solo una canción, por ejemplo. Así es, dice Citlali, estamos viviendo winds of change, ajá, y bueno, pues de alguna manera estoy muy, muy segura que ustedes han encontrado o han vivido situaciones similares. Voy a la siguiente diapositiva para comentarles que históricamente esto de trabajar contenidos tanto de disciplina, ¿no? Interdisciplinarios como contenidos transversales, pues no es algo nuevo. Dice Diane Larsen Freeman que ya lleva pues varios ya por lo menos desde 1960 se encontraba un enfoque que se llamaba ESP, no tiene nada que ver con algo de percepción extrasensorial, más bien tiene que ver con un inglés basado en propósitos, ¿no? ESP dice English for Specific Purposes, es para propósitos específicos, y generalmente este tipo de enfoque, bueno, voy a hablar un poco más a fondo sobre él, buscaba esta combinación, esta vinculación con contenidos que fueran digamos, de apoyo para profesionales. Podría ser un inglés para médicos, un inglés para negocios, ¿no? Un inglés para contadores. Entonces, en 1960, bueno, se da como este despliegue, digamos, de estrategias para poder llevar a cabo textos, no llevar a cabo lecturas, textos, básicamente se desarrollaba la habilidad lectora y la habilidad escrita con este tipo de enfoque, ESP. En 1980 aparece CALA, y CALA significa Cognitive Academic Language Learning Approach, y con esta misma idea de vincular digamos, contenidos, CALA buscaba también el desarrollo cognitivo de los estudiantes, pero ¿cómo? A través del desarrollo de habilidades de estudio, pero también a través del desarrollo del estudio de disciplinas o de subjects, ¿no? En este caso de asignaturas como matemáticas, biología. Entonces, CALA también viene a ser un elemento donde se cruza la disciplina, se cruzan algunos aspectos transversales como habilidades de estudio, desarrollo de habilidades cognitivas, y bueno, después en el 90 aparece CLIL, y creo que muchos de ustedes, aquellos que han de alguna manera tomado TKTs o que han hecho esta certificación de TKT, también han oído hablar de CLIL, ¿no? Que es este enfoque que se desarrolla en Europa y que su nombre es Content and Language Integrated Learning. También voy a hablar en unos minutos más de él y bueno, finalmente aterrizo en 1990 con Project Based Learning, que también muchos de nosotros y ustedes particularmente que han venido desarrollando el plan de estudios 2017, seguramente y como acaban de ver en la charla anterior, seguramente han estado desarrollando muchas actividades basadas en proyectos, ¿no? Para generar esta idea de un aprendizaje activo. Pero bueno, vamos a profundizar un poco más en ello, pero la idea de mostrar esta línea del tiempo es, pues, ver, ¿no? De manera visual cómo esta cuestión de la transversalización, de la interdisciplinariedad ha estado en el inglés, bueno, desde ya hace más de pues hace más de casi 70 años más o menos. Bien, ¿qué pasa con English for Specific Purposes, no? Como yo les comentaba, básicamente la enseñanza tiene estos fines para profesionales o bien para la ocupación. Podemos ver en la imagen como una mujer está digamos, haciendo una presentación de negocios y presentation skills se vuelve un contenido, ¿no? Es interesante cómo desarrollar habilidades para presentar oralmente se vuelven contenido para este tipo de enfoque y método, ¿no? El de presentation skills. Entonces, a partir de este contenido, y seguramente los que han dado inglés para negocios, a partir de este contenido se van digamos, transversalizando, se va imbricando, se va vinculando y articulando temas que tienen que ver con el desarrollo de la habilidad oral, que tiene que ver con también el desarrollo, tal vez, digamos, la correcta pronunciación, las pausas, etcétera, ¿no? Entonces, todo esto es parte de lo que vendría siendo desarrollar ciertas habilidades y cierto conocimiento, despertar ciertos saberes, precisamente para que, en este caso, el estudiante de inglés pueda desarrollar estas habilidades para presentar. Y bueno, lo que tienen aquí abajo es básicamente pensar que a lo mejor inglés con esta idea de propósitos específicos, también podríamos pensar en un inglés para interactuar en juegos, ¿no? O con juegos. Imagínense enseñar a nuestros alumnos de secundaria un inglés en donde ellos puedan hacer interacciones para jugar o bien interacciones para poder contar historias, para hacer uso de videojuegos. Es decir, en muchas ocasiones estamos rumiando, estamos ahí pensando, ¿no? ¿Qué puedo hacer en clase? ¿Cómo puedo a lo mejor acceder a cierto contenido? Y a lo mejor no nos hemos dado cuenta que tal vez necesitan, ¿no? Algún tipo de andamiaje, diríamos, scaffolding, ¿no? Algún tipo de contenido que les permita llegar a lo mejor a hacer clases lúdicas totalmente en inglés, y para ello tal vez necesiten un lenguaje, un tipo de lengua que les permita interactuar en juegos, ¿no? Bueno, esto tiene que ver con ESP, y ahora voy con la siguiente diapositiva, que tiene que ver con CALA. Seguramente ustedes han visto o y creo que lo desarrollan en secundaria a menudo, este tipo digamos, de proceso de enseñanza, en donde los alumnos llevan a cabo una investigación, hacen una investigación de corte individual, o sea, buscan ellos individualmente o colectivamente información sobre un tema, por ejemplo, en este caso, los órganos del sistema del cuerpo humano, ¿no? Todas estas partes del cuerpo humano, todos los órganos que se encuentran en el cuerpo humano, y obviamente está vinculado este tema con la biología, ¿no? Entonces hay una disciplina que está ahí en juego y los alumnos pues llevan a cabo todo este desarrollo de habilidades, lectura, escritura, habla, ¿no? And listening and speaking, ¿no? Entonces, de alguna manera, digamos que la finalidad o el proceso que se va dando dentro de este trabajo con Cala sería obviamente el desarrollo de un vocabulario más académico. Creo que todos lo han hecho cuando entran en el ambiente, en uno de los ambientes del plan de estudios 2017, ¿no? Que tiene que ver con cuestiones científicas y académicas. También hay un desarrollo, ¿no? De las habilidades de lectura y escritura. También vemos que hay un incremento de ciertas habilidades cognitivas y una promoción de la autoconciencia, de esta habilidad para autoestudio, ¿no? Y se va desarrollando con Cala no solamente pues un conocimiento, digamos, paralelo, digamos, conocer términos o conocer funciones del sistema del cuerpo humano en inglés, sino que también va habiendo un desarrollo de corte cognitivo en la asociación, en la comparación, ¿no? Bueno, hay este tipo de desarrollo. Y bueno, Cala seguramente ha sido como un proceso que también ustedes han posiblemente desarrollado en el aula. También tenemos este otro digamos, enfoque llamado CLIL, ¿no? En donde se adapta, ¿no? Generalmente CLIL se da en TKT y es adaptado desde, bueno, digamos, con niños muy pequeños, desde primaria tal vez hasta adultos, en donde precisamente hay una idea de interdisciplina, ¿no? Pues ahí pueden ver dos imágenes en donde están las partes de una flor y en la parte de abajo está la misma flor, pero tiene espacios para que el niño o el estudiante, el adulto, pues llene, ¿no? Etiquete, en este caso, la flor. Entonces, de alguna manera se vuelve el enfoque, bueno, va así, va tratando de vincular las disciplinas, en este caso, o la disciplina, hacer un ejercicio de transversalidad, porque también en este caso una de las habilidades que desarrollan sería la comunicación efectiva, asertiva, y bueno, obviamente con ello se van integrando también las habilidades como escuchar, leer, escribir, hablar, ¿no? Etcétera. Entonces, bueno, con CLIL también tenemos esta presencia de la interdisciplina. Y bueno, pues acaban ustedes de escuchar a nuestra ponente que habla sobre la idea de los proyectos, ¿no? Project-based learning, y creo que finalmente es algo que está mucho más cercano a la actualidad, a los diferentes formas y procesos como enseñamos inglés y que buscan generar este aprendizaje activo. Como pueden ver, hay una pregunta ahí abajo, ¿no? Más bien hay una instrucción, dice, dame o más bien elabora un pequeño speech, ¿no? Un pequeño texto en donde des tu opinión sobre el uso de la tecnología en niños pequeños. Entonces, generalmente, cuando tenemos una propuesta basada en proyecto, pues empezamos o detonamos, siempre va a haber como se detona un problema o se busca que el niño se enfrente a un problema y que a partir de esa pregunta, a partir de esa instrucción, bueno, se vaya haciendo, digamos, una búsqueda de argumentos, de vinculaciones con la historia, por ejemplo. Pensaba aquí con esta imagen, pues generalmente los chicos podrían hablar sobre históricamente cómo ha sido el uso de la tecnología, sobre cuestiones de salud, sobre, bueno, cómo serían las generaciones futuras si solamente utilizaran o estuvieran muy conectadas con la tecnología, sobre problemas o asuntos familiares, etcétera. De alguna manera, dice la literatura especializada que los beneficios que podemos encontrar, en este caso con project-based learning, con este tipo de enfoque, pues sería precisamente las 4 Cs que se buscan para detonar o desarrollar en el siglo XXI, que son la comunicación, el pensamiento creativo, el pensamiento crítico y obviamente la colaboración. Estoy segura de que, digamos, en secundaria o en primaria, pues tal vez con proyectos más sencillos o bien con ideas mucho más simples, ustedes también pueden detonar este desarrollo de proyectos y, bueno, con ello estaríamos pensando que estas habilidades que se buscan para el siglo XXI, que sería pues el trabajo colaborativo, la interacción, el uso de la lengua como vehículo, como decíamos al principio, y esta idea de pensar críticamente, no como piensan generalmente, o sea, es decir, tener referentes y a partir de esos referentes poder pensar en argumentos que me digan si esto es bueno o malo o finalmente qué significa tener desde temprana edad el acceso a la tecnología, ¿no? Y entonces, bueno, hacemos niños mucho más conscientes de su propia realidad. Y bueno, me voy aquí a la siguiente y tengo otra pregunta. Esta vez espero que sí pueda, de alguna manera, me puedan ayudar a responder y voy a poner más atención en las respuestas. Dice, una clase de inglés con un enfoque interdisciplinario y transversal promueve el aprendizaje del idioma inglés. Me gustaría saber ustedes qué piensan. Y si es así, ¿cuáles podrían ser los pros y los contras de un aprendizaje en donde ustedes ven que hay una, yo le llamo imbricación o hay una superposición de disciplina con aprendizaje del inglés? Acá, bueno, me saludan, se presentan y, bueno, dicen que sí, claro que sí, hay un aprendizaje del inglés, pero ¿cómo podría ser ¿cuáles podrían ser los beneficios de este aprendizaje interdisciplinario? ¿Cómo la interdisciplina podría ser un elemento de apoyo? Si se refuerzan los conceptos y los elementos de otras asignaturas, bien, entonces ahí entra tal vez una idea de hasta colaboración con otra asignatura, ¿sí? Hay un respaldo, dice otra colega. Y bueno, pues yo tengo aquí algunos como comentarios a la luz de 3 planes de estudio que han sido los más recientes. Tenemos el 2006, algunos de ustedes recordarán este plan de estudios que estaba de alguna manera basado en textos, se acordarán que estaba basado en textos y también en este proceso de aprendizaje de Kolb, tenía este ciclo de reflexión y aprendizaje. El 2011, que ya toma de manera mucho más formal las prácticas sociales del lenguaje, y en el 2017 pues tenemos aprendizajes clave. Todos los 3, de alguna manera, desde el 2006 hasta el 2017, dan este giro, ¿no? Dejan de alguna manera la cuestión de las nociones y las funciones, las dejan de lado con el enfoque comunicativo que estaba previamente en el plan de estudios 83, y en estos 3 planes de estudios emergen las prácticas sociales del lenguaje. La pregunta, básicamente, sería, ¿cómo ustedes, a partir de estas prácticas o en estos 3 planes de estudio, y si no han tenido todo este trayecto, por lo menos en el más reciente, cómo ustedes han fomentado esta idea de la transdisciplina o de la interdisciplina, perdón? no solo con el vocabulario, sino con un aprendizaje, lo que ya saben los estudiantes en español. Claro, efectivamente coincido con, no leí el nombre, pero coincido que desde el español, digamos, desde este conocimiento previo, desde este bagaje de saberes o de información previa, se puede, ¿no? Se puede construir hacia el inglés. Claro, hay que, empatía, dice por ahí, hoy en día estamos trabajando en los campos formativos donde el inglés, ok, la idea del lenguaje, sí, vamos hacia allá, no desesperen, porque de alguna manera estoy tratando de hacer este vínculo, pero efectivamente hay prácticas sociales del lenguaje y tal vez desde mi punto de vista reflexivo, acuérdense que la idea es hoy reflexionar, hago estas como preguntas, ¿no? Empiezo a tratar de preguntarme qué estaría pasando o qué está pasando con este último, vamos a pensar en este último plan de estudios, en donde, y programa de inglés particularmente, en donde se ve que las prácticas sociales del lenguaje como que incrementaron. ¿Esto será bueno? ¿Será malo? Esta idea de que hay más prácticas sociales del lenguaje que en el 2006, por ejemplo, o que en el 2011, y que estas prácticas sociales del lenguaje están mucho más centradas en actividades comunicativas y que tal vez la transversalidad o la interdisciplina la tiene que buscar el profesor. Queda solamente como un cuestionamiento en el aire, ni siquiera es una pregunta, es un cuestionamiento. Otro de los cuestionamientos que emergen y me pregunto y tal vez les hago llegar a ustedes es si de alguna manera cuando surgen estos planes, estos programas de inglés, recordarán que primero estábamos centrados en el estudiante, después pasamos a centrarnos en el aprendizaje, pero yo me pregunto si de alguna manera el 2017 no se volvió un elemento que es, digamos, un currículo que se centra en el aprendizaje, pero tal vez se ha vuelto demasiado prescriptivo. Simplemente lo dejo como una pregunta al aire para que ustedes hagan este tipo de reflexión. Y si ustedes consideran que el aprendizaje y la enseñanza bajo estas prácticas sociales no se han vuelto más como camisas de fuerza, como prescripciones que yo tengo que lograr o que tengo que llegar a ciertos aprendizajes esperados y por ello se vuelve como mucho más, digamos, más lineal. Otra de mis preguntas es si los componentes curriculares pueden ver este círculo en donde hay varios círculos en el centro, si estos componentes curriculares que parecería que giran entre sí, si ustedes consideran que realmente están entramados o están conectados, vinculados o están fragmentados. Esa es una pregunta que, bueno, les hago a ustedes y si de alguna manera cuando ustedes trabajan los aprendizajes clave, ustedes encuentran en el aprendizaje, en la descripción del aprendizaje, este dominio de conocimiento, habilidad, actitud y valor, ¿no? Entonces, la última pregunta, ¿no? Lo último es si ustedes encuentran en este ejercicio del 2017 un vínculo con otra asignatura o bien con un colectivo o con un contexto. Seguramente sí, porque el inglés se presta para hacer este tipo de vinculaciones, pero la pregunta también sería con qué frecuencia, qué tan a menudo, si esto es un continuo, ¿no? O bien es algo que sucede, ¿no? Que a lo mejor es espontáneo, pero que no hay manera de sistematizarlo, que no hay manera de darle una continuidad a este trabajo, ¿no? A este trabajo de articulación o de vinculación con, les decía, con otra asignatura, con un colectivo de personas, ¿no? Con otros, o bien en un cierto contexto. Mi siguiente diapositiva está centrada precisamente en el plan y programa de estudios 2022. Pues ya llegué aquí y sé que todavía para los profesores PRONI no hay contenidos, no hay contenidos bajo esta articulación que hace el nuevo plan y programa de estudios. Y sin embargo, como ustedes pueden ver en contraste con la imagen que estaba previamente, podemos ver que hay elementos que están superpuestos, ¿no? Y que pretenden, ¿no? Al menos curricularmente, recuerden que una cuestión es el currículo, lo que se planea, el contenido que se busca lograr, y bueno, otra cuestión también tiene que ver con la realización. Pero bueno, vamos a ver en cuanto a la estructura, en cuanto al diseño curricular, que efectivamente en esta imagen podemos ver elementos que se van sobreponiendo, que se van intercalando o se están interconectando. Podemos ver que ya el centro no es necesariamente el niño o no es necesariamente el aprendizaje, porque parecerían cuestiones aisladas, sino más bien ya es como un conjunto, un aspecto mucho más de comunidad, en donde entran como diferentes aspectos que están en torno a la comunidad, ¿no? Sería básicamente lo que muchos de ustedes han estado haciendo como estos diagnósticos, en donde se pueden ver de manera, digamos, ustedes traen al currículo aquellos elementos de la realidad que están en el entorno y que obviamente, y muchos de los que hacen intervención, obviamente inciden en la práctica cotidiana. También pueden ver cómo está la siguiente capa, digamos la capa de abajo, no está superpuesta, está en el tope de la comunidad y después en la parte de abajo están los campos. Hice este ejercicio de, qué materias o asignaturas estarían dentro de cada campo, pero nos dice el diseño curricular que no necesariamente deben de pensarse como que son elementos que están insertos. Ahí sí, es cierto, el campo de lenguajes abarca estas 3 asignaturas. En ocasiones, dependiendo de los estados, puede estar también la lengua indígena, ya sea como segunda lengua o como lengua materna, o bien dentro de lo humano y lo comunitario estaría la tutoría, la tecnología, y etcétera, ¿no? Bueno, no voy a leer, ahí pueden ver cada uno de estos campos, cómo están insertos, ¿no? Las diferentes asignaturas, cómo se hizo como una idea además de conjuntar, de hacer mucho más global este campo y hacer, ¿no? O tratar de hacer este tipo de vinculación. También podemos ver ya todavía más al fondo, o digamos a la base, los ejes articuladores, que no son más que estos elementos que pueden hacer el ejercicio de transversalizar, es decir, habla, por ejemplo, de una vida saludable, de aspectos de inclusión, y que estarían también siendo como elementos a integrar, elementos a considerar dentro de cada uno de los campos. En nuestro caso, sí hablamos del campo de lenguajes, bueno, desde el inglés, cómo podemos generar este fomento a la lectura y la escritura, cómo podemos integrar aspectos que tengan que ver o discusiones que tengan que ver con vida saludable o cuestiones de interculturalidad crítica, diría es decir, cuestiones donde cuestionemos estos procesos de interacción con otras culturas, ¿no? con otras personas. Pues bien, esto es, digamos, algo que ustedes conocen, algo que ustedes están viviendo tal vez en este momento, y digamos que dentro de la literatura, y me parece que esto podría ser como lo más valioso, ¿no? Dentro de la literatura, perdón, me regreso, dentro de la literatura, nos dice la literatura especializada que trabajar inglés desde la interdisciplina y la transversalidad nos permite colaborar con otros docentes. Y creo que este aspecto, si bien curricularmente no había sido considerado, o bien cuando pensamos en el inglés desde una interdisciplina o pensamos el inglés desde el desarrollo de temas transversales, tal vez lo pensamos desde la soledad. Y creo que esta oportunidad de transversalizar y de hacer interdisciplina, sin importar el plan de estudios en el que nos encontremos, nos va a permitir la conexión con los colegas, ¿no? Con colegas de otras asignaturas, con colegas también de inglés, pero que están tal vez en otros grados o bien que están en otras instituciones. Esta idea de la colaboración entre docentes creo que es algo natural, es algo que se desarrolla de manera natural al momento de tener o de intentar trabajar desde la interdisciplina. También, obviamente, se puede hacer esta identificación de proyectos o temas en común y trabajar de manera colectiva, colaborativa con otros docentes, con otros grupos, con otras personas para que los proyectos no solamente se queden en una cartulina pegados en tu salón y solamente fueron para tus ojos. Es decir, los alumnos se esfuerzan, hacen un esfuerzo por presentar, por traer un material atractivo, pero el proyecto se queda dentro del aula o se queda tal vez pegado en la pared de afuera del aula y hasta ahí que llegó, ¿no? No hay como una difusión o no una trascendencia de aquello que el estudiante hace con nosotros. Esto también me parece que es una de las bondades de trabajar desde la interdisciplina. El diseño de proyectos colaborativos también, pues obviamente desde el diseño empieza una comprensión con el otro, una comunicación con los otros y empezamos a trabajar más en comunidad. Esto es algo que me parece apoyaría mucho a la integración del profesor de inglés, que en muchas ocasiones está solo, ¿no? Por ser de inglés tal vez, porque sus contenidos, porque la lengua, porque es algo que parecería extraño y ajeno, pues generalmente trabaja en aislado, ¿no? Balcanizado. Y en este sentido, desde el diseño de un proyecto colaborativo, pues el maestro se va integrando también a la institución y obviamente va cambiando parte de la cultura escolar de las escuelas. Obviamente, la idea de la transversalidad y la interdisciplina ayuda pues, a desarrollar habilidades del idioma, no solamente estas comunicativas, sino también estas otras que les llamarían blandas o estos otros temas de corte transversal que tiene que ver con el desarrollo de un pensamiento crítico, la resolución de problemas, bueno, también eso estaría promoviendo. Otra cuestión, pues ya decíamos, el pensamiento crítico, es decir, el cuestionamiento de ciertas prácticas, el ver cómo hay relaciones, ciertas relaciones de poder o ciertas relaciones de mala interacción, de mala comunicación y que eso podría prevenir o podría generar en algún problema. La evaluación integral, es decir, mirar no solamente desde lo que se hace en el aula, lo que se hace en una hoja de papel, sino mirar todo el desarrollo y el proceso de una adquisición y aprendizaje, más bien aprendizaje de la lengua. La reflexión y la retroalimentación también sería este otro elemento que estaría en este tipo de trabajo. ¿Y por qué la reflexión y la retroalimentación? Pues porque finalmente a lo largo de todo un proceso de vinculación con otros, con un contenido o con varios contenidos, pues estaríamos tratando de reflexionar sobre qué tanto he avanzado tanto en mi forma de enseñanza y mis alumnos en sus formas de aprendizaje. Y bueno, obviamente algo que también sucede mucho en las escuelas es el uso de recursos, ¿no? En ocasiones uno tiene que traer sus propios recursos para poder implementar una clase, el cañón o una grabadora, o a lo mejor hasta las pilas, ¿no? Porque estaba leyendo previamente que había profesores que decían, bueno, ¿para qué traigo una grabadora si ni siquiera hay una conexión? Pero bueno, aquí tal vez en esta idea de trabajo con los otros, ¿no? Vinculado con las otras asignaturas, es posible que también se puedan compartir los recursos. Pues bien, entonces, parte de esta charla, parte de lo que el día de hoy se trató de reflexionar, es la naturaleza del inglés, en cierta forma, el uso que tiene, el juego que nos puede dar la vinculación del inglés con con otras disciplinas, con otros temas, y cómo de alguna manera en la nueva escuela mexicana o con este nuevo plan de estudios 2022 se está buscando precisamente este tipo de articulación. La propuesta, la reflexión, tal vez digamos que el comentario final es a tratar realmente de explotar o de ser parte de esta nueva propuesta. Pero no importa, como señalé hace rato, si todavía no llega el 2022. Esto lo puedo hacer también, y seguramente muchos de ustedes lo hacen desde los otros planes de estudio. Pues solamente me queda agradecerles su atención. Dejo aquí un par de referencias que fueron los que estuve utilizando para la construcción de esta presentación, y también les comparto mi correo electrónico por si quieren algún tipo de información o algún tipo de que comparta ciertos materiales. Entonces, pues no he leído muchas de las preguntas, pero si de alguna manera tienen algún tipo de reflexión o de pregunta, pues estoy aquí para resolverla con todo gusto. Ajá. Dice, bueno, pues... sí, efectivamente, dice Rogelio que no hay continuidad en la materia, pero yo considero que el maestro, en esta idea de ser un posible codiseñador, puede generar esa continuidad, o bien buscar junto con los otros lenguajes, buscar ese vínculo y tratar de dar esta continuidad. Ojalá, maestro, y pueda pensar desde la interdisciplina cómo dar continuidad a su programa y a sus contenidos. Dice que hay dudas sobre la construcción de los contenidos de la NEM. Los contenidos de la NEM están dados en torno a estos ejes articuladores y a los propósitos que tiene la nueva escuela mexicana y a un perfil de egreso. Y con base en ello, el contenido de alguna manera se desagrega, ¿no? Se va mirando en los diferentes niveles, o grados, y se va haciendo de lo más sencillo a lo más complejo. Entonces, dentro de cada contenido, que podría ser, por ejemplo, el mirar la diversidad lingüística, ese contenido, o sea, podría ir desde la parte mucho más receptiva de conocer, investigar sobre la diversidad lingüística, no solamente en México, sino también en el mundo, o en el mundo y México, y de ahí proponer la elaboración de pequeños textos, la reelaboración de textos, y tal vez llegar a la presentación de algunos temas que tengan que ver con la diversidad lingüística. No sé si me expliqué, pero de alguna manera la idea es que a partir del contenido se van desarrollando, se va haciendo un acercamiento al tema. A partir de estos contenidos en inglés se van desarrollando ciertas habilidades, y posteriormente se va desarrollando en el alumno la posibilidad de que pueda utilizar el inglés con otro tipo de elementos discursivos, como la narrativa o tal vez el debate. Bueno, pues dicen que sí, parece que la idea sí es llevar a cabo la idea de la transversalidad, y sí, coincido con Bernardo, el inglés tiene que estar de manera mucho más permanente, y pues de eso depende también de las formas como podamos trabajar en nuestras escuelas, es decir, de qué manera podemos incidir con los proyectos de otras asignaturas. Creo que ahí podría estar más nuestra permanencia. Bueno, pues yo agradezco, no sé si hay algo más. Bueno.
Muchísimas gracias, doctora Maricruz, por esta excelente sesión, ahora sí que llena de reflexiones y de muchos comentarios y felicitaciones. Muchas gracias de nuevo.
A usted. Hasta luego. Muchas gracias.
Okay, so let's go back to English, and I am pleased to invite you to BBELT 2024 conference, which will be online. Remember, registrations will be free and open in November. I hope to see you there. Now, it's time for a short break. Meet me and our next speaker at 5:10. Remember, you are welcome to post your comments and questions in the chat, making sure that you maintain a respectful and positive communication. See you back at 5:10. Welcome back. For our next session, I'd like to welcome Matthew Long from the British Council. Matthew Long is currently the English coordinator at Colegio Mercy, a problem-based learning specialist school. He designs curricula that branch beyond English, connecting interdisciplinary and with a mind-brain education focus. Welcome, Matthew.
Hello and good evening, everybody who has joined us. Thank you for that wonderful little introduction to me as well. So hello, I am Matthew Long, as you just heard. I am currently based here in Mexico City. And I work with the British Council, but also in Colegio Merici, which is in Coajimalpa, here in Mexico City. And we are a SEP school. We have our own curriculum as well. So I am in the same boat as you guys. I understand the problems of waking up very early. This morning, I had to be at the school at 7. And I want to say a huge thank you to join us today. It is currently 5 p.m. here in Mexico, but I'm happy you're willing to learn. I'm happy that you're focused and here and ready to listen to me. If you could write in the chat which part of the country you are from, I would love to see it. Today we're going to be using a little bit of interaction. Of course, this is a webinar, but we're going to be trying our best. And please feel free to make fun of me if I say where you're from incorrectly. Okay, I can see Sinaloa already. Okay, so this is my session on interdisciplinary collaboration. Okay, so we're going to kick start. Oh, a lot from Sonora and Sinaloa from the north. We're going to kick start with me sharing my screen. Give us one moment whilst I do that. Right, here we are. Perfect. So, as you can see on my screen, interdisciplinary collaboration. Please feel free to continue writing in the chat where you're from, just so we can have a little bit of back and forth, and we can collaborate together as well. Okay? So, interdisciplinary collaboration, CLIL in action. So, first of all, what is interdisciplinary? Okay? Please write into the chat. This is going to be our first thing. When you think of interdisciplinary, when you hear the word, but specifically in education, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for your practice? Okay, so I'll give you 30 seconds to write in the chat. For you, what does interdisciplinary mean in terms of your practice in your school and, you know, in education in general? I'll give you 30 seconds. I can still see San Luis Potosí, Nuevo León. Welcome, everybody. Michoacán, fantastic. Connection between subjects, links English to different subjects, fantastic mix of different topics, different disciplines working together in education, different subjects in one. It means as a team, fantastic, I love that. Working as a team, collaboration among other disciplines. Yes, simple answer is absolutely yes. You all know this. I don't need to explain that to you. So it is involving 2 or more academic, scientific, or artistic disciplines. So as you are correctly identified, subjects, academy, and disciplines, artistics can be combined together. Working together to develop student knowledge. Love that. Fantastic. Okay, melting subjects. Oh, I also like that too. I'm going to create new terms today from this speech. So yes, we have determined what interdisciplinary means. Now let's dig a little bit deeper. So a little bit about myself. So I am an English coordinator, as I've already said. However, I'm also a teacher and I consider myself a student as well. one of my big loves is about MBE, Mind Brain Education Sciences. This is about how, like neuro teaching, how the brain learns, because I think it is critical for us in education. Okay, so I will talk about that a little bit and its relevance to interdisciplinary practices. Okay, so true or false? Our brains form stronger neural connections when all of our students' focus and attention is on an individual subject or facts. False, true, false, true, false. It's true, false, true, 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 false, false, false. I'm going to get my tongue tied with this. So I'll give you 30 more seconds to think about what that means and process it and write true or false. Once again, our brains form stronger neural connections. These are the connections that are happening in your brain now, where it's connecting to pass electrical signals, which is information, which are memories. Do we need that to be focused solely on one subject? In fact, false, true, 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 false. Okay, I'm going to put us all out of our misery for now. Okay, so of course, well, not of course. The answer is false. Okay, how if it was true, then I wouldn't have anything to talk about today. So well done to everybody who put false. However, if you did put true, there is truth in it. There is ways that we can build memories and long-term learning through individual subjects, but the deeper learning, the deeper connections happen interdisciplinary when we are combining different ways. So while learning is possible through this modality of focusing on one topic, focusing on one subject, our brains create deeper connections when we connect facts and syllabus across disciplines. In fact, our brains are changing physically every day. The beautiful thing about your brain is it has plasticity. Okay, that means after this talk, your brain has physically changed. So as teachers, you are brain changers. It's amazing. So neuroplasticity is the process of neurons changing constantly and building connections for growth and reorganization. So we delete and create new connections all the time. Okay. However, when these connections bond with other memories, these connections are stronger and less likely to be pruned. Pruned is a fancy word for being deleted. Okay. So the science tells us that interdisciplinary learning is the deepest of connections we can make for our students. They are going to be strong memories, robust, quicker to access because they're going to be connected to other memories, to other neural connections. Okay, great. So let's move on. So as I'm going to be talking a little about memories, I will be starting with the interdisciplinary approaches soon. However, I feel that it's important to think about how do we build memories? What are these strong memories and strong learning connections that I'm talking about? Okay, so this was taken from Efrat First, who's a fantastic theorist based in Israel, and this is from her talk of modeling the learning process. Okay, so there are 4 stages. When we focus it on an individual subject, an individual task, we're at the no. So if you're looking at this beautiful abstract by Dr. First, you can see that it's an individual memory, disconnected, but it's still there. So what this is these are the building blocks. This is when we're building memories. For example, when we're giving our students basic facts. As English teachers, we provide our students with new vocabulary. We often give our students lists, sometimes of words, sometimes of grammar. Okay, this is important. I'm not saying this is not. This is important because these are the building blocks and the beginnings of how we make long-term memories. Okay, so these reduce distractions, they focus attention, like we said earlier, but they're introduced separately. So these are memories, but they are the weakest, and these are the earliest forms of building strong memories, building strong learning paths. So what can we do as teachers? We need to move our students towards the understand. So, as I said, in your brains, we have neural connections, and you can see the red memory could be a piece of vocabulary that we've introduced. As our memories get stronger, as we give them explanations, or if we give them examples, my favorite one is always football. I'm a huge Chelsea fan. I always teach my students through football to make those memories stronger so they can build what they already know and attach it. Yeah, I understand it now through different analogies, models, images, and illustrations. So we've gone from the early memory to building through attachment, through connections. Once again, I like to use football and analogies quite a lot. Right, so next we go to the use, okay? And this is, once again, you can see in this example by Dr. First, the memories are starting to become stronger. They are making connections with previous learning, with previous knowledge to become stronger, okay? This is when we're starting to question. This is when we're using retrieval practice, when you're in terms of formative assessment. You're asking your students questions. You're giving them pop quizzes. So then their memories become quicker, they become stronger because they're connecting and through other memories, okay? So this is when we're using. So this is when we're making other pathways to new learnings, explaining it to somebody else. You've read a story or you've read a reading task, and then you have to generate, you have to create it, you have to explain it to somebody else to construct these stronger neural pathways. But the place we want us as teachers, us as learners, but most importantly, our students to be, is in this final stage. This is when you master something. And how do we get there? We get there through spacing, where we're giving our students enough time to process the information, go from know, understand, use and master, variation, and challenge. But what you can see here through this illustration, the strongest memories that we have are ones that are connected. These are the ones that are going to be robust. These are the ones we're going to recall quicker. And these are the ones that are going to last a very long time, for our students to be autonomous and for our students to have these strong connections with what they're learning, okay? And that is where collaborative learning comes into its own strength, because we're giving them language and subject and fusing them, so then they become inseparable. They become a strong network. As we know, the network is always stronger than the individual, okay? So that is, well, not so brief, explanation on how we build memories. So why is this relevant? So now that I've discussed and presented the interdisciplinary approaches, which ones can we use? So there are three key areas that I'd like to speak about today. And also I've got some examples to show you as well. Okay. The first one is CLIL. Okay. So let's have a little think. Let's have a little bit of interaction in the chat, please. Okay. So write your ideas in the chat. What is CLIL? What does it stand for? Similar to the interdisciplinary, what does this acronym represent? Okay, I'll give you a minute, as I am aware there's a little bit of delay between the chat and me speaking. So I'll give you a little bit of time. Write your ideas in the chat. What is clear? And thank you to everybody telling me where you're from, what is interdisciplinary. Please keep that coming in, okay? So I'll give you 1 minute to write your ideas in the chat. What is clear? Someone's got it already. Fantastic, Julio. Excellent, Arabella. Very good. Excellent. Okay, so you're all fantastic students. This is amazing. You're absolutely correct. Thank you for everybody who is writing. It's wonderful to see. But yes, you are all correct. This is the acronym CLIL, C-L-I-L, is Content and Language Integrated Learning. Okay, or context as well. I like that. Context, language, integrated learning. But yeah, content and language integrated learning. What is this? It is, yeah, as Betty is telling us in the chat, it is to study another subject through English as a second language. So it's where a subject is taught in the target language. In our example, we're teaching it in English, rather than the first language of the learners. In CLIL, classes are designed to allow students to focus on and learn how to use new language as they learn a new subject. So this is, for example, it's us teaching sciences. It is us as English teachers explaining them certain things in history, in mathematics, and English is a vehicle towards that knowledge. Okay, so fantastic. I would love to be a CLIL teacher. You will be. There's no reason you cannot be. So yeah, that is what CLIL is. It is using English as a device to access a subject that we would not normally teach. Okay, but yes. So we know that CLIL is a language access to a subject through English. But what are the elements? There are 4 elements that we need to combine to create successful CLIL lessons. Okay? So content, of course, this is in the title in CLIL, is the progression in knowledge, skills, and understanding related to specific elements of a defined curriculum. So we need to be giving them the knowledge and skills related to the scientific experiment that we're going to do, the historical information. Okay, we need to make sure that that is the focus. When we're focusing our objectives, when I'm doing a CLIL lesson, English is a vehicle. English is not my main focus. It could be a secondary objective, but my main focus is to get the content, to get the objectives of that specific topic through to the students. Be that dates of historical kings and queens, for example, in England, in Britain. It could be certain things in life cycles, in specific information of life cycles, of how it works, the ecosystems. That is my focus. My content is my focus. English is just a method of getting there. So if my students are making grammatical, vocabulary mistakes, it's not my main objective. So please don't worry about it. Communication. Using language to learn whilst learning to use language. So for me, communication is a huge thing. As I said, accuracy, it would be nice. However, it would also be a little bit unrealistic within our context. Okay, if my student is explaining to me how a liquid turns from a liquid to a gas, however, they're not using the correct verb tenses, my objective is reached. I know that they are familiar with the content, They're struggling a little bit with the language, but it's not the end of the world. My main focus is the content, as I said earlier. However, communication, they need to have the ability or the opportunity to communicate in English. Sometimes my kids flick to Spanish. It's okay, you can turn a blind eye, but we're really driving them to be speaking in English and having that access, okay? This is through pre-teaching. So we're going to pre-teach all the vocabulary that they necessarily need. Cheat sheets as well is something that I provide my kids, which I'll explain to you in a minute, okay? But communication, because they're going to want to explain and use this language for scientific or historical reasons. So we need to give them the communication that they require. Cognition, developing thinking skills which link concept formation to understanding and language, okay? So once again, it's the thinking skills, the concepts of formations, the thinking about deep thinking. How does it actually work? Giving them a challenge, giving them time and space to be absorbing this information, okay? And the final element is culture. So, of course, they're going to be exposed to alternative perspectives. If it's in history, for example, you're looking at a different culture, okay? Science, not so much, but, you know, culture is part of a CLIL lesson because it's part of a second language. They could be studying the Mexican independence, but in a second language, which is where culture comes in. So, some examples. I've seen in the chat people think that they can't do CLIL or they should be able to do CLIL. Here are some basic examples as English teachers that I have used in class, but I'd also like you to use too. Okay, for example, you can see here Halloween is coming up. We were looking at some examples of life cycles. Okay, so my students thinking about pumpkins. Okay, Halloween is coming up. What is a pumpkin? Why do we use pumpkins? Where do pumpkins come from? A little bit of history, but also let's focus on the pumpkin life cycle. Okay, so we start to investigate and research, do reading, we plant seeds, we watch it grow, and we start to learn the life cycle of a pumpkin. And I'll explain how that can be expanded in a little bit. Okay, another example that I've used. This was in our school last week. We had a science fair in our 3rd grade English class, and this is a lava lamp. I saw so many different experiments, lava lamps, the classic volcano. Students made a coin disappear in water. They looked at the different levels of oil through density, how salt makes ice colder, and you can pick up a thread. Once again, we did this in English class. We used science was the main focus. The density of water, for example, the changing from gas to liquid to solid. So they're learning scientific concepts, but in English, okay? And of course, you can see there is the experiment. My favorite one is, this is a letter from Guy Fawkes. If you're not aware, Guy Fawkes was a terrorist 400 years ago in British history who tried to destroy the House of Parliament, Big Ben, by going under the House of Parliament with dynamite to assassinate the king for political reasons. So I saw this as a great opportunity to teach my kids a little bit of history, to start to think of, you know, old examples of failed plots, looking at kings and queens, religions that, you know, they've had difficulties with. And as you can see, one of my students wrote a letter from Guy Fawkes explaining his intention to explode to blow up the Houses of Parliament. Once again, through English, but there's a historical topic there. And if you're in secondary, we have something called MUN, Model United Nations. This is completely clear. We're looking at politics. We're looking at debating. We're looking at kind of, arguments in society and law and order. But we has to be in English. Once again, because A, that's clear, but B is the United Nations. United Nations performs in English. So we're looking at politics, law and order, society, global perspectives, and dragging it in to a model United Nations. These are just some examples of CLIL. However, some things that we should do. So, ignite what they already know, okay? Think about the knowledge that they have already in their native tongue, in their experiences as children, and think about what they already know. And we can, as I said in the beginning, we can make those connections to what they already know. Working together, use your Spanish teachers, use your history teachers, use your mathematics teachers. This is a great opportunity to connect more and, work together. Input, output. Think about what input you're going to be giving the students, what reading, what listening. These are the key areas that we need to use in CLIL examples. They need to be reading, they need to be researching, they need to be listening, to be taking in all this information. And what output are we expecting? What are we expecting our students to perform? Is it something written? Is it something explained through presentation? So considering your input and output. Challenge those neurons, make it hard for them. Make them consider critical thinking, get them thinking deeply about ideas, okay? Thinking time as well. In CLIL lessons, we need to be giving them a little bit more time to process these ideas. And cheat sheets. These are my favorite little trick. What I do when I'm explaining CLIL activities is that I give them a little sheet, for example, chemistry experiments, a list of vocabulary, a list of some pictures that they've used. I've pre-taught it. You have to do your pre-teaching. That is critical before approaching CLIL. However, we need to give them additional support throughout the process. Once again, English is a vehicle for me, not the final objective. So as long as they're communicating through this cheat sheets, for example, if they're trying to explain condensation, they can't think of the word, but they have the concept. They quickly check their cheat sheet. Okay, and they use it to communicate. Once again, cheat sheets are critical. So, write 2 ideas. I can see some of you have already started to do it. 2 ideas in the chat where you'll introduce CLIL in October. Okay, how can we use CLIL in October? Thanksgiving, Columbus, absolutely. Halloween, Thanksgiving, tradition and culture. Celebrations, All Saints Day, origins, fantastic. So I would like to make it very, very clear. I think all of us, we're English teachers, fantastic, but we all know how to teach. We all know how to give them ideas. And I don't think we should be ever embarrassed or ashamed or nervous approaching these topics, okay? You're still teaching, you're just not teaching a language, you're teaching a concept, you're teaching a skill instead, okay? So please go ahead and try this in October. So because of time, I'm going to push on. As I said, please take my 2 ideas, pumpkin life cycles. Start with Halloween, look at the pumpkin, carve the pumpkin, but start to ask them, what's the life cycle? How does it work? You can see in my example how it works. And then you have the opportunity to explode this into other areas. What's the life cycle of a frog? What is our human life cycles? What is the cycle in weather? So you have a beautiful opportunity to start with a pumpkin, explain about the concepts there, but then you have so many opportunities in life cycles as a concept. Is beautiful, okay? Or, as I said, it's one of my favorites, Guy Fawkes, okay? The gunpowder plot. Please take a screenshot if you wish. That is a beautiful YouTube video there. There are 2 parts that explain everything, okay? You can start to dig into it. You can start to ask them concept checking questions. You can get them to write letters using the language, okay? So here are 2 ideas that I'd like for you to take away, okay? So I'm going to push on because we've only got 20 minutes remaining. So that is clear, okay? So the next one I'm going to speak about is empathic design, okay? Which is also partly CLIL. There are elements of CLIL that you're going to see, okay? But very quickly, we have 1 minute. Explain to me, how would you solve this problem? You can see an image on your screen. How would you solve this problem? Calaveritas, nice, I like it. Halloween. These are fantastic ideas about how you're looking to use CLIL in the classroom. Fantastic. With a sign, Astrid, very good. Yeah, a simple sign saying stop. The height could be could solve this problem. Removing the wheels, beautiful. Remove the wheels, drag out the truck. Excellent. Driving another way. Yeah, that is a solution for you to be safe. Excellent. Flat the tires, good. Deflate, drag it out. Love it. Call Superman, always important to call Superman. But yes, place signs, excellent. Wonderful. So I wonder if you noticed, with this simple photo, you have all thought of very quickly different ways of solving a problem, okay? So this is empathic design. Please take a screenshot of this. This is quite an important part. We start with wonder. We go to question and define, where we're questioning, defining our problem. We interact, play and observe. We empathize by listening to the people. We form, make, prototype, test, evaluate, improve, and present. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I've used CLIL in an example through empathic design. Okay, I'm going to have to go a bit quicker because of time. So I started teaching about migration to my children. Okay, obviously I'm an immigrant. I'm from the United Kingdom, but I live in Mexico. So we have this connection already. But I thought to myself, I can't do this alone. This is a beautiful opportunity for collaboration, for CLIL. So I need to draw in other subjects. So I asked the kids, what do you think migration is? They spoke about wars in other countries. They spoke about traveling through like intrepid travelers in their Spanish that they've learnt. They thought about refugees, the push and pull factors that we looked at in English. They started to think about music, Manu Chao, Clandestino, which we're going to hear soon. That is also a story of migration. They started to think about the birds migrating. They started to look at the maps of geography of where people migrate and where animals migrate. As you can see, birds. So just by asking them a simple concept, a simple theme, my students were able to think of many different types of migration in many different disciplines. You can see Spanish, English, music, geography, and science all in one simple word. Okay, that is how we tackled migration. Okay, and I'm going to show you how. So I started to ask them, okay, we have different students from different communities, they've migrated from different places. Some have come from the north of the country, some from the south, some from Latin American countries. So we identified our problem. How can we help migrants in our community? As you can see, we interviewed through empathy. This is empathic design. We interviewed people who are affected, students from Venezuela, students from Colombia, students from Monterrey, we're in Mexico City, and me, a UK teacher and a US teacher, you can see in the photo. And like I did with you, we looked at the problems, we listened to the affected, the truck driver, but in this case, the students and teachers. And the students thought, what can we do to help? And they were the people who drove their projects. They found different solutions to different issues, okay? Once again, all through migrations. Some of them, as you can see, created a map of places of Mexico, a kind of infographic. Some had a bilingual official Marici menu, which we gave to our cafeteria. So they're using Spanish and English. Some use a dictionary for different words in Spanish, comparing Mexican Spanish to Spanish to Colombian Spanish. So yeah, we looked at that. We also looked at maps, we looked at geography, and our students created different maps through technology, digital literacy. Our technology teacher who has iPads, he was very popular. And my favorite was with our music teacher, our fantastic teacher, Pablo. As you said, they empathized through the song Clandestino. And here is what they produced.
País en donde vivo, no existe economía, todo es un basurero, no hay donde vivir, yo mejor me voy de aquí, tengo que sobrevivir, migrar es mi destino, si quiero aspirar, el viaje será largo.
I'm going to pause it there. So, yes, you can see this is a clear example of teachers working together. They used migration, their central topic, with me in English, interviewing different teachers, listening to refugees, music in Clandestino, science through the migration of birds, geography, looking at maps, Spanish, reading Intrepid Travelers and El Bestia, the train. So this is an interdisciplinary project which just exploded. So once again, same as Cleo, we can be teaching topics, we can be teaching concepts through communication, which is of course in English, okay? A lot of the projects you can see were with me in English class, but the theme was all the same. I was working with a Spanish teacher, music teacher. We just sometimes need to sit down. Okay, this is our concept. Where can we connect? I'm currently looking at interviews and passive voice when writing newspapers. You're looking at migration. So there we go. We can interview foreigners and build from there, okay? So there are always connections. English is a very flexible subject where we can adapt to other disciplines, other subjects, and use English teaching the vocabulary and grammar through this method, okay? So please talk to your teachers that in Spanish and science, and they're amazing just like you are, okay? Sorry, I have to skip that. And finally, so we've looked at CLIL, we've looked at the empathic design where we're looking at the people are the focus. In our example, were foreigners, immigrants, okay? STEAM, I'm sure you know what this is. please write in the chat. I'll give you 30 seconds due to time. What is STEAM? Okay. I'd like you to think very carefully, what is STEAM? And it used to be called STEM, but it's evolved. Please write in the chat. Science, technology, yes. There's the first two. Well done, Erica. So due to time, I'm going to push on. STEAM is the ultimate destination for playing, discussing creative games. Love it. Fantastic. Yes. Science, technology. It is a method, Aurelie. You're absolutely correct. And Mike, with lots of Ks, science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths. Bingo. Okay. When I first learned this, it was called STEM, but it's evolved. Now we've got the arts involved. The more, the merrier. But I love STEM in the classroom. It is CLIL. All day long, it is CLIL. We're using science, technology, engineering, and mathematics with arts in our classroom in English. Okay? What is it? First of all, before I explain, let's think of the benefits. It links to real-world skills. Students are focusing on skills instead of language, same as CLIL. Promotes higher order thinking in Bloom's taxonomy that we know. Provides differentiation opportunities because students who are a little bit lower in English, often in my classes, are really good at STEAM, are really good at STEM, and they're just trying to use the English. They have motivation to use English in these activities. It fosters 21st century skills, collaboration, research, presentation. It supports mainstream curriculum, science, engineering, mathematics, arts, and it develops learner autonomy and encourages self-assessment, okay, because they are reflecting on their products. So the stages. First of all, the teacher needs to present them with a problem, okay? So for example, my problem with some kids, you can see in my presentation, they needed to construct a tower as high as possible using only spaghetti and masking tape, okay? So simple, spaghetti, tower, tape, okay? They had to collect information. This is the research stage. They had to look at different shapes. They had to look at strong objects, for example, triangles. They had to look at examples of engineering and research what are stronger structures? What are these shapes that buildings have to build strong structures? Imagine they had to draw their, you can see in my example, they drew their structure, they planned it, they told me how they're going to make it stage by stage, and then the best part, create it. They had 20 minutes to work in a team, building their spaghetti towers, communicating in English, and after the 20 minutes, stop. How will you improve it? What would you do differently? How they're reflecting, how would you do that tower differently? Okay, you have 2 minutes, go again, okay? So there are so many 21st century skills here and research once again. And yeah, here are some examples that I can provide for you. Let me come back to that in a moment. So yeah, sorry, the moment is now. So after they've looked at their whatever they're creating, it can be a tower, it can be a boat. You can see in my example, it can be a zip line. Please take a screenshot of this slide. It can be a parachute for eggs, okay? They think about who was the winner. You can see examples of competitions here. Once again, they are using subjects, knowledge, content from outside sources, from other subjects, engineering, science, but they're using English the whole time to communicate with me, to write and plan, to reflect, to talk with their partner. Once again, you don't understand how excited they get. They really want to speak in English. Once again, we are the communication in the school. We are the voice in another language. We just need to give them situations in different disciplines where they're going to use that voice, because that is where the determination comes from. Okay? Please feel free to look at some of these stages and some examples that I've provided you. And I am very aware of time is short. So if you'd like to know more examples about STEAM and CLIL, please scan this QR code and you will be taken to where I have written a quick article about that. And I will also paste this in the chat. Okay? So some tips that I would give teachers for STEAM activities is please make sure that they're completing their worksheet. They have space and time to think, research, use other ideas from other subjects in their worksheet. They're explaining, they're planning, they're collaborating. What happens? We all know we have a cool activity, we have a fun thing to do, and students just want to grab it, okay? They want to grab it and just start working immediately, okay? So I'm going to join the chat. I'm going to connect to YouTube to join, okay? I am going to also put the link here in case you don't have the opportunity. If you're on your cell phone or something, this is the link, and I'll also make sure the British Council share this with you too. Okay? So, yes, let's continue. So yeah, please give them an opportunity to plan, to use that knowledge prior to starting. Otherwise, they'll just grab the spaghetti, start arguing, and it won't be building the skills we want. So let's think about, once again, how do we build memories? I explained that we start with a single term, and through our examples, analogies, images, we start to build stronger connections. We start to use it. We question generative learning. We're using concepts to explain ideas. And then we get to the master through challenge. And once again, this is through interdisciplinary work. So by using interdisciplinary practices, CLIL, empathic design, STEAM, you are helping your students not only build long-term memories in a language, but also in concepts and subjects. And as you can see from the research in neuroteaching, neurosciences, the masters, the strong memories that are quick and robust, are the ones with the most connections. The students who are connecting ideas, linguistics in English to concepts, those are the ones that are going to stick. And their English will improve because of it. It is dedicated, it is motivating, and it is building these neurons. Okay? We don't have time for it to be your turn. However, if you want to have a go, please scan it, and I will be looking at this over the next few days and can give you some feedback and ideas. Okay, it's a Padlet you can share by video, photos, notes. I'd love to see your ideas and give you some feedback as well. Okay, so that is the task, to think about a language area with a theme and how does it connect to CLIL. Okay, however, once again, due to time, we're going to have to do that as homework. Okay, so final tip, active learning is key. Cross-curricular, learning through play, project-based learning, as Emma spoke about earlier. Okay, using English as the tool to other subjects. Thank you for your attention. I'm very aware it is late for all of us now, but also thank you for your decision to improve as a teacher. It is very inspiring for myself, to see my colleagues, my fellow teachers want to improve, to be better teachers, so our students are better students. Okay, thank you so much for that dedication. Please put into some of the ideas that we've spoken about today. You can scan if you want to connect with LinkedIn, send me an email. I'd love to collaborate with you. After all, that is the idea.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you very much for this very useful and inspiring talk. So, audience, please join me to give a virtual applause to Matt. Congratulations, Matt, and thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, so we're coming to the end of the second day of this wonderful event. Please remember to enter the QR code or link that we are sharing with you and answer the quiz. With this quiz, your attendance will be registered and taken into account for your certificate of attendance. Make sure that your name, surname, and email are the same as yesterday's and correctly written. I will meet you here tomorrow for more academic and more very interesting sessions. Now, it's time for me to present Ms. Mariana Solis, Academic Subdirector of PRONI, who will be formally closing today's event. Welcome, Ms. Mariana.
Hello, good afternoon to all of you. As we come to the end of these helpful lectures, I hope you have gained a wealth of knowledge that will greatly enrich your daily teaching practices. I trust that the strategies for project-based learning and interdisciplinary collaboration shared here with you will be instrumental in fostering better learning environments. Again, I want to thank the British Council, Emma Ford, Maricruz Aguilera, and Matthew Long as well for their sharing and pieces of advice. Now, I will share with you some important information. As Ale said, these lectures will be recorded and can be viewed asynchronously. But please remember that the daily quizzes will be available until November the 3rd. Also, don't forget to fill in the daily attendance. So, thank you again, all of you, for your participation, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.